I am Mike Madden. I am a chef, and this is my third Mo Mondays. My first Mo Monday I attended as a guest. My second Mo Monday I catered. And my third one I'm on stage. So say what you will about me, I work fast. Now, as a chef, I've learned a few things about food, and I've learned a few things about people. I'd like to share a few of those with you tonight. Number one, food makes us uniquely human. Two, our relationships to our food and the relationships that we have with food make us uniquely individual. And number three, food is love. So, food makes us uniquely human. We are the only animal on Earth that celebrates its food. We need look no further than agricultural fairs, farm shows, to see the best of livestock and produce, dairy, all front and center, you name it. We're also the only animal that celebrates with food. We cheers our bubblies, we sit down to lavish banquets, and we break bread with friends and colleagues in order to foster good relationships. Our ability to feed ourselves in large volume, as well as our ability to feed those less fortunate than us, are also things that make our relationship to food uniquely human. My mother-in-law runs a homeless shelter's food program for 13 weeks out of the wintertime to ensure that hot meals get to those who need them during the coldest part of year. These things have an undeniable way of connecting human beings to their food. It is indeed food that has its part in making us those humans. Food makes us uniquely individual, and our relationship to food makes us uniquely individual. As a younger chef, when I would create something, I couldn't handle if you had anything to say about it. I couldn't handle it if you didn't like what I was preparing. It had to be your fault if you didn't like what I made. And the example that I'd like to share with you is I was preparing a meal for family friends at our summer home at Bayview and Major Mackenzie in Richmond Hill. And I was there with my parents and a number of their friends, and I was preparing a cedar plank smoked salmon.
I wasn't there, but
Before I was a real chef, when I was trying to impress people, I would make risotto and cedar plank smoked salmon. These were two of the things that were starting to make me special as a young cook, and they were things that I loved to share with people. But don't you dare tell me how to make it. I would make it with this herb crust made from dill and shallots and garlic, and I'd marinate the salmon and painstakingly soak the plank, make a stock, make the rice. At this point, it would probably take me about 2 days to prepare something like this, so the effort that I put in was all that I cared about. Now, at this particular meal, when everybody sat down to eat and everybody was taking their first bites, and I was looking around the table at everybody, and everybody was enjoying the salmon that I had prepared medium rare. Now, I got around to one guest who looked like I had served her a fresh piece of lemon. And she said, "This fish is terribly undercooked," seemingly oblivious to the fact that a number of other guests were enjoying that fish. And I said to her, "Have you ever had sushi?" To which she replied she had, but she didn't want this fish cooked that way. And I told her she was wrong. I was right. I was the one who learned how to cook it, and if she didn't like it my way, she didn't have to eat it. I obviously was not a nice younger cook. Now, what I didn't respect and what I now know is that it's not up to my guest to adhere to my vision as a chef in order for them to enjoy my meal. It is on me to have my guest have their vision realized, complemented by the food that I have served them. Now, that is something that I've learned in maturity, but back then it was my way or the highway. So as much as I have matured now, what I didn't respect back then was that everybody has a relationship to their food, and everybody's relationship to food is unique. It's part of what makes them who they are. It's part of what makes us who we are. Food is love. I have a number of friends lately who've just had children. Women and men together. And so I've had a lot of conversations with women about nurturing and caring for children, lots of fascinating conversations. And a lot of the trials and tribulations that go along with nurturing children have to do with the feeding of them. And what it seems to me is that a mother's milk and the nurturing of a child is truly a physical representation of food as love. We need food to live, so giving food is giving life, and that's especially apparent for me when it comes to mothers breastfeeding, basically. Now, I will never know the joy of breastfeeding personally, but the parallel that I could draw is in the last few weeks of my grandfather's life, I had the sorrow and the privilege of helping him eat when he was too weak to eat himself. Now, as sad as this act was in a lot of ways, it really served to show me the power of feeding somebody that you care for, somebody that may not be able to feed themselves. In the example of women and breastfeeding and children, it's quite obvious, but for me in this example, being able to share that moment with my grandfather at the end of his life was something that was truly, truly remarkable and truly, truly special. Not only because I'm a chef, but because I actually got to experience some of those last moments with a man who I cared for very, very deeply. So food is love. So as we are gathered here today, as we're celebrating the coming together of the two Mo Mondays communities, it is no coincidence that we're doing it sitting at a dinner table. So I would like to ask that in the spirit of the holidays, everybody raise their glass, because we're the only animals that celebrate food. We're the only animals that celebrate with drinks. So let's cheers, because food makes us human. Our relationship to food makes us uniquely individual. And food is love. Thank you.